Thank you, Administrator. Let's see, a quick question on the 2024 launch date. Who made that decision to change it by 5 years?
That was a decision by the President of the United States, announced by the Vice President of the United States.
Fascinating. Okay, were technical people consulted and
Yes.
budgetary people consulted?
Yes.
And was the question asked what that would do to the budget at the time that the command was given?
The determination was made that we would need to make an amendment to the budget requests, and we're working on that right now.
And you're doing that on a zero-sum basis, or you're going to be allowed to increase the total for NASA? Or are you going to cut other programs?
Oh, I will tell you, it will not be successful if we're cutting other programs, because we have to have bipartisan support.
So you will be asking for an increase. And was it specified who would be taxed to do that?
Will there be taxes to
Yeah,
it?
taxes. If you're going to make increase the budget, normally you have to tax someone to pay for it or to specify what else you're cutting.
That would be a determination by somebody other than the NASA administrator.
Okay. All right. Now, just you're talking about essentially a program based on chemical rockets that would be completely understandable to Wernher von Braun. Everything you're proposing. And there have been, for decades, conceptual designs for ways to get stuff into low Earth orbit for much less. For example, these are things like electromagnetic launch systems, air-breathing systems, space elevators, Luftstrom loops, all this sort of stuff. And it seems like you're spending a negligible amount of stuff that actually has a chance to reduce the cost of getting stuff into low Earth orbit. And is that something that bothers you, or have you considered moving the needle on that so that actually we have a chance 50 or 100 years from now with having space be affordable to people, which I think is pretty clearly not going to happen if we just keep using chemical rockets again and again?
That's an important question. You're absolutely right. Chemical rockets are expensive. We're making really great advancements right now on the reusability of rockets, which is driving down cost and increasing access.
That's not a major effect. I visited SpaceX, when this was still conceptual, hadn't been proven yet, and I asked the question, okay, if you reuse the booster, how much, let's say it all works and that they're able to do it. You reduce your capacity to low Earth orbit because you have to retain fuel to land the booster. You have to go and take stuff apart, respace, qualify it, everything. How much money do you actually save? And the answer from the engineer at the time was you save 17%. That is not transformative. We need a factor of 10 in the reduction of costs, not whatever number you get from reusability of the first stage booster. So you have to spend money on transformative technologies, and I don't see that anywhere in your budget. And is that how do you view that trade-off?
So I think, again, I think it depends on what your definition of transformative technologies are. I will tell you
something that could get a factor of 10 in the cost to low Earth orbit. Okay.
Look, if there's a way to get a factor of 10 reduction in cost, I'm all for it, and I'd love to hear your ideas on it. I know you're a physicist, and I'm all ears.
It relies on fundamental research. If you want to make the space elevator work, you got to get long carbon nanotubes in mass production. These are things where they're good ideas on how to spend the money. But if you concentrate more and more on let's go to the moon with the exact same technology we used 50 years ago in the next 5 years, the money that's spent there is not being spent on something that can actually make space accessible to large numbers of Americans 20, 30, 50 years from now. So I urge you to rethink the trajectory you're on. In a similar way, space nuclear power is something that you're working on. And the trade-off the decision you have to make early is whether you're going to use weapons-grade material or non-weapons-grade material. It's my understanding that for nuclear space propulsion, you have settled on low-enriched, non-weapons usable. And that's correct. Yeah.
That's what we currently use. Yes.
And on the other hand, it appears you're not heading in that direction, at least initially, for space power reactors. These are things that would be used for potentially on satellites, potentially on lunar or Mars bases.
Sure.
And a future where every spacefaring nation has a big inventory of weapons-grade material to service the reactors that they are using all over the moon and all over Mars is not a very safe space environment. I've spent some time looking into it. There will be some small performance compromises in going with low-enriched, non-weapons grade material. But I really urge you to look hard at keeping alive the prospect of having an international collaboration to develop workable, non-weapons grade based materials that the whole world will use. And
I will look at those options.
thank you, I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thank you very much.